Good evening. Hello. Welcome to tonight's episode. We have a special guest with us here tonight, Joshua Taylor. He will be on with us and joining us soon. You know, here's the thing. At the end of the day, sometimes when you're starting the entrepreneurship journey, it can feel a little bit lonely. You've already been on the corporate ladder. Everyone else around you has been on that same corporate ladder, but now you want to enter entrepreneurship and you've built your business. You started your business. You got it going. You're trying to talk to people about your problems in your business and they want to talk about their boss and you're over that. You're like, listen, I'm past that. I want to talk about this marketing, right? And so it can be difficult to navigate those discussions. It can be difficult as well too, to even think about your future version of yourself when no one else around you is really doing anything similar, right? So how do you pivot in such a space? How do you get into the great level of detail required for you to step into your future identity, step into that chapter, right? You were brave enough to take that 1 foot out of the cubicle and into entrepreneurship. And now we got to get you taking both feet into full-time entrepreneurship, right? So you have questions, we have answers. And in this special episode here tonight, on Entrepreneurship is a Marathon, special guest speaker, Joshua Taylor, and I will be getting into nitty-gritties of all that and more, even more about his special mission-driven journey that he's on to run 50 marathons in 50 states. So more about that as well too to come. But first, and I'm putting him on screen here as well. First, what has been your win of the week? So for those in the audience, remember, comment below from where you are watching and living, whatever it is. Even if you're watching the replay, remember, if you're watching the replay, hashtag replay in the comments, okay? If you're watching the replay, I want to see hashtag replay in the comments, right? We still see your questions, we still see your comments, and we still answer them, okay? So hashtag replay in the comments if you are watching this. But what has been your win for the week? My win for the week, well, my win for today, at least, right, has been, so I've been running like an average, like 3.5 miles around a park nearby to where I live. And on April 6th, I was at 14 minutes and 47 seconds. And now today, on June 15th, this morning, 11 minutes and 45 seconds. So I shaved off 3 whole minutes. Yes, under 12 minutes. And for those runners listening, that is an accomplishment. And I wanted to share that win because we are doing this is Entrepreneurship is a Marathon, right? Yes, I also had a banana split as well about an hour ago with 3 scoops, Oreos, Snickers, and cannoli. That's another win as well. But special guest here, Joshua, what has been your win? What was your win?
What's up, everybody? What's up? What's up, sis? My special win was today, actually. I spoke with the founder of In Poverty Make Trillions. So just inpovertymaketrillions.com. Look it up. It's super dope. The founder, Daryl Finkton, he's like super genius, but he's all about how we use universal basic income with the federal poverty guidelines minimum to be able to help people like stop being poor, stop suffering, and using that money and income to not just help us get out of poverty, but to actually return that capital and multiply it and help raise people out of poverty in America.
Oh, wonderful. So Joshua's win was a connection, folks. So there you go, right? And more on that later on. But yes, and tonight's guest, just a little bit more about Joshua. Who's Joshua Taylor? A little bit about him. So Joshua, you'll learn more about as well too. But essentially, he was born in Houston, Texas, raised in Pearland, Texas. He graduated from SFASU, degree in finance and economics. He's a 3-time NCAA All American champ, co-founder of Guzo, founder of BreakinCrypto, and a VC as well too. And he's also the head of sales and business development at FitLift and the founder of Run From Us. So a lot of founding. He's founded a lot of companies, okay? Founded a lot of companies, definitely entrepreneur and serial entrepreneur at that. And welcome to tonight's episode of Entrepreneurship is a Marathon, every Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern, here with yours truly, Vanessa Zammy. And so I'm going to put this here in there we go. We'll do another producer thing here. So remember, hashtag replay if you are watching the replay. And what is this show about for those who may be new joining us, right? So at the end of the day, you know, it's a dagger to my heart. You may not know it's a dagger to my heart, but I'm going to tell you what's a dagger to my heart. Every time I see a corporate executive passionate and brave enough to keep 1 foot in the cubicle with another foot into entrepreneurship, only to end up frustrated and discouraged. Unfortunately, what typically happens is that they quit on their business, right? They don't quit on, not the day job, they quit on their business. They quit on their passion. They quit on their mission. They quit on what it is that they want, the legacy they want to leave behind, right? Because they're angry that their purpose-driven business has been failing and it's failing fast, and their spouse is giving them that judgment eye, like, what's going on? Where's that money, right? And really what I do is I help these brave corporate solopreneurs get it together. And so I help them renew their passion for their business, unpack what's been sabotaging their success, and grow their business without struggle or sacrifice so that they are free to confidently transition and plant both feet into full-time entrepreneurship and really strive forward towards that time freedom and financial freedom. And all this month, the month of June, right? Or whenever you're watching this, but essentially these episodes, the month of June is really about vision, right? So we've been tackling simple, efficient, effective ways for you to get to know your current business and really figure out where you're sabotaging your success. And tonight is an entrepreneur here to share a little bit more about his story and even more what he has going on and how he's taken in the connections, right? And taken in the experiences that he has and is continuing to have, right, with his business, and now translating that into impacting the community and helping out the community, right? Because that's the end goal for you too. So let's start off with you, Joshua. So tell me a little about yourself. Let's get into it. Yes. How would you describe yourself?
So thank you, VZ, for having me on. This is awesome. This is really fun already. Like I said, from Houston, Pearland area to be exact, in Texas. So I'm a Texan for sure. I guess growing up, have an amazing family, mom and dad. I have an older brother, and I have a twin sister. So, the backbone of me is really my family, God, and just sports. Like I grew up really in the sports world. NFL was like it, and running track, and had a lot of offers coming out of high school. Didn't even think I was going to go to school with my sister, but we went to school together. That was really cool and a blessing from our parents. Still wanted to do the track thing. Thought I was going to go pro out of school, but just thought that it was time for me to move forward. Doing banking at Wells Fargo was cool at first. Got bored quickly. Always knew I would run a business in some capacity. Always knew, even if I made the NFL, that my dad always said that, hey, you don't want to be just an employee. You want to be the owner. And so kudos to my dad for giving me Rich Dad Poor Dad when I was like 12 or 13. I wish I would have gotten it at 12 or 13, but hey, it's there's a time for everything. And so the first 30 years of your life are learning. And I was learning the first 29 years. Juneteenth, I'll be 29. So did Wells Fargo, got bored, was going to work at a hedge fund. That same year in 2016, my brother Gordon Taylor and myself launched off into the entrepreneurship world. He was at University of Chicago, Booth School of Business, finishing his MBA. Started a long distance ride sharing concept with college universities. So, hey, I'm at University of Alabama, but I want to go to Birmingham or Atlanta. I got empty seats in my car. Hey, you can come with me. We can share the cost. Cool. We expanded that to 19 schools. We were working on the pilots during the summer of 16. I fell in love with just trying to solve a problem and working with my older brother. And so I jumped ship early 2017. I didn't look back. Bright idea.
Good job, 2017.
Yes.
Yeah, so you started the business while doing the day job.
Let's be clear. I probably started helping out like May 2016 and then like jumped March 2017. So January 2017, I remember the car ride. It was January 8th, 2017. That evening, my brother said it's time.
That was the day.
I put my 2 weeks in February 24th, 2017, and I was out the next week because I was ready to go. And so didn't realize how hard it would be. I know you're going to ask me questions about that, but a lot of pivots with our company, three into a fourth, but we know who we are, and Guzo is the go-to place for you to trade or join your communities. So yeah, we're really excited about that, and there's a lot more to talk about, but that's kind of like
let's get into that, what you just mentioned, right? The journey of entrepreneurship. And so here, the title of the show, Entrepreneurship Is A Marathon. And as someone who runs track, mind over matter, right? So what has that journey of entrepreneurship been for you? And just describe a little more about that. Yeah.
So I think it was a first time entrepreneur, whatever you're working on, whatever, I think I just like to call them projects because it keeps it fun. And it's like a project you keep working on, you keep iterating on, like research, right? Research is never done. It always hones it and gets better. So I think you're just like a bright-eyed, bushy-tailed deer. You don't know what you don't know as a first-time entrepreneur. And so it's a lot of, it's a steep learning curve depending on if you're really jumping out there or not, or just increasingly jumping out there. And so kind of like my experience is like I just jumped out. I just was like, I'm out, didn't tell my parents, which I'm sorry, mom and dad. Kind of didn't tell them at first. If you live with your parents or young enough to have that type of relationship with your parents, you're not super grown, communicate with your family or whoever your guardians are. Mistake on my part, but I'm telling you, so don't do that. Second off, um, just really, I think the known unknowns and the unknown unknowns, right? You just really don't know, and you're really trying to stress test if people really want what you have to offer. And you're very biased because you're passionate about what you want to sell, especially if you're trying to sell something that's very saturated, and a lot of people are doing. And so there's just so many things you have to learn on the go, because the only way to really know how to run no business is to run one or be an operator. And so a lot of people talk about entrepreneurship or talk about things, but they've never done it. So I think that's the biggest thing for everybody here. And for me and for you is like, hey, if you never done something, why are you talking about it? It doesn't mean you can't from a theoretical perspective, but the best way to do something is to be a practitioner of it.
Yes, action. We get into action. Yes, yes, love it. Right. So taking that action, and nothing beats action. So yes, indeed. And love it in terms of it's what I'm hearing you say is that, you've known that you want to be an owner of a business for a really long time. Right.
Mhm.
And it was a fictional idea. And I think you were trying to make other things work, the corporate life. And when you decided not to be the athlete, and then you went into the entrepreneurship space, and you had that support from your brother as well. And you avoided telling other people, but you had support from your brother. And when you we're making that first business happen. And here it is, still 5 years later. It's okay to talk about, I guess, the value of that support to you.
Yeah.
Or how different do you think it would have been without that support?
Without my parents and my brother and my sister, I wouldn't be alive today, but I definitely wouldn't be the person I am, and Guzo would not be afloat today. And with their moral support, monetary, whatever it is, we're definitely not wealthy yet, but we definitely have a great system. And I just talk about my family because that I know a lot of people do not have that what we have, and I'm definitely don't take it for granted anymore. And so that's like the number one key to our success thus far. And the success meaning staying in the run, staying in the marathon, and not giving up, and us choosing to continue forward. And my brother's my older brother, my best man. I followed him around all the time, and so I've been an apprentice for 5 years, learning under him as a C. He was being the CEO, and so me being more of a head of growth role, Swiss Army knife COO. And so it's been a lot of things, a lot of learnings. When you think about, we started this when I was 23, on the way to turning 24. So I was really young. Didn't even really have my full-time role down yet as like, oh, I'm in corporate, I'm just killing it and it's kind of easy. I was still adjusting to that world, and I was still trying to I loved equities investing, looking at companies. That's why I wanted to go into the hedge fund world. So it was like I was always tinkering on something. I always wanted to do something big. Limitless life, we could get into that, but that's kind of like my vision of my life.
Awesome. And you mentioned family. I would love to so what would you say, top 3 things that were most pivotal for you during this marathon of entrepreneurship?
Oh my gosh. You can't even narrow it down to 3, but I could do a high level. And so I think the biggest thing that helps entrepreneurs is support system. And that's why a lot of Black founders, or I don't like the word minority, but just people of color, are just disadvantaged in whatever way. And I'm very privileged, not rich, like I said, but definitely grew up in a, middle, sometimes I would say upper, but in terms of the globe, we're Americans are in the top 3% wealth class. So
But you grew up better than me, Joshua. I see you. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Yes.
I don't know. We'd have to look at the balance sheet. But is what it is. We're still grinding. So um, I think just the family support system, and then like entrepreneurship really shows you who you are. You know, it's going to test your faith. And if you say you don't believe anything, you're lying, because we all believe in something, even if it's nothing. And so I think that really shows, it's going to show you who you are, your character, and it's going to show you if you really believe in what you stand behind and what you're pushing out to the world, even if it doesn't work, that you're able to pivot and adapt, or say, hey, at least I went for it. And then last but not least, the learning curve. You're going to learn a lot if you're really out here getting it. You're really testing your product and not just sitting behind thinking you're doing something. No, you need to be out there doing things that don't scale, talking one-on-one to people, doing things like this online. The loudest in the room wins. Your product has to back it up. And I used to not like that. It's like, hey, my game speaks for me, but we're in a realm where having a voice means something. And that's why you see people who were nobodies 2 years ago have 1 million followers, because they learned how to master the game on just like trying things and continuing to shoot those shots until they get their flywheel. So yeah, those are probably the top 3 things. Great support system. If you don't have one, find one. And then like yourself, you versus you, and then like you versus your target. They're either gonna love you, hate you, or indifferent, and you gotta convince them.
Yes. So 2 things you touched on, the most recent one, but really like the key to marketing, it's people knowing you, liking you, and trusting you, right? And it's that whole cycle of, first they gotta know you, but then they gotta like you in order for them to chance of buying from you, right? And then they have to like trust you as well too, right? And so, but the thing a lot of what people struggle with is, when you're doing that whole pausing, stopping, and starting of a business, it's very easy. Okay, people know about you, but then you stop, right? That inconsistency in your marketing. People know about you, and then you just like the end, period. And guess what? That doesn't help them to trust you or even like you, because now you're messing with the time and the energy. And not only that, but then if you don't show up, they won't know, right? Like, and so it's definitely very key in that perspective. And also just like the support system, ensuring that you do have that support system around you. And for those, maybe you're wondering, there might be people listening like, but I don't have that support system, and maybe they still have the friends who they had the brunch with the gals or the fellas, and they're like, okay, they're talking about work and their bosses are bad, right? The non-entrepreneurial friends, so to speak. And so curious, how did you navigate the discussions with non-entrepreneurial friends? Or did you still have them? Or did you just like let them go? Yes.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends that aren't entrepreneurs. Now my life is different. So I do have a lot of friends that are founders, investors, a lot of older friends as well. And so I think during that process, I mean, I'm an original thinker. I don't really care what other people say, and I've grown in that process, and it's a never-ending process in terms of you being good with yourself. But I think my friends were open to it, and I had my brother working with me, so it was like we were like married. So it was just us, rolling with it, against the world, I guess, and I guess just I guess that my brother was was pretty good. And then we first started, we had a small team, and so it was kind of like us just in the chamber working it out, looking for a dev team, looking for guys to help us, because me and my brother are not developers, and so that was just kind of just in the chamber doing it. No one really doubt. I mean, there are doubters. There's doubters all the time. I love them. But it wasn't really a like, oh man, like I don't know. They're like talking about this, or like, no, this is what I want to do. You think about it sometimes, but I knew I was going to do this, so.
Good stuff. So it's sort of like the willpower, right? And it's the willpower and the passion that you had for the business, and even probably even for the business idea itself. And that's a key part of what I tell people is like, it is the reason why I tell people focus on the purpose-driven business is because entrepreneurship is that marathon, right? And if you don't have the passion for the race, you're gonna maybe do like half a mile, and then you're gonna be like, bye, never mind. I'll just go by the water stand and just stand there and watch other people, right? And so
And I have a comment to that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, And it may sound like I'm all hard and tough, but it's like, nah, there's been plenty of times where me and my brother want to give up and like financially just struggling. Um, and so, I mean, we run like a startup, so we're raising a lot of capital. We raised over $1 million. We have investors, so it's like it's not a game, but it's it's a project. It's just long term. You wait until you vest, right? We're vesting equity, so we are taking that high risk, high reward, and we have to live with that calculated risk. But yeah, there's been plenty of times where I'm just like, Lord, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. Like, what am I doing? Like, what did I do the last 5 years? Did I waste my 20s and all type of crazy stuff that we don't have enough time to discuss tonight? But it is definitely it's real, and it doesn't matter if you have a lifestyle business or you're trying to make a big business. It's risk because we all have different obligations here, and so yeah.
Yes, thank you for adding that. Absolutely. And I think it's one of those things where people forget about that struggle. And it's a big part of the show here is that, yes, you see people on Instagram, you see people on the Facebook, you see people on the Twitter, TikTok, whatever it may be, but they all had their story. It wasn't always like that, folks. And even though they may be there now, there's still the back end that you're not seeing, right? And everyone's been through the entrepreneurship roller coasters, highs and lows. For some people, it lasted a day if they were privileged enough. For other people, it lasted maybe a year, 2 years, 3 years, right? And for other people, unfortunately, it's like it lasted for them 3 years and then they quit and then they come back 10 years later when a pandemic happens or something like that, whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, it is the highs and lows, right? But it's the highs. And it's also just like that vision that you have of yourself and your business that helps you. And also that support system, like you mentioned, Joshua, right? And that community of people around you, whether it's a friend, family member, maybe it's your spouse, maybe it's not your spouse, maybe it's your children. You see your children every day and you're like, this is why I'm doing it, to leave a lasting legacy for them. Maybe it's a mentor, a coach, a consultant, other entrepreneurial friends around you, right? But ensuring that you do have a support system around you in that community and you lean on them, right? You lean on them because guess what? They're probably struggling the same way that you are struggling, and it's okay. It's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to reach out. It's okay to be struggling because guess what? You're not the only one out here. And so it's okay to like lean, just put a hand out, like, help me. And that is all right, right? And that is okay. And so take that opportunity. If you see someone, if you hear of someone and they are here to help guide you, or, they are saying, hey, what do you need help with, right? Take the opportunity to say it. What do you need help with, right? So you can get the help that you need to keep moving forward in your journey.
That's real.
Yes. And so now get into a little about what you're working on. That was deep. We went a lot deep. So how am I going to transition this, right? But I guess, well, actually, what I do want to, there's one question I do want to connect about. So in thinking about, there's still like probably part of your future identity that you still need to reach, right? You're still working on, as you mentioned, you're not there yet. But how do you get into that level of detail of remembering like the Joshua you want to be or the Joshua you are, and how that connects to all the work that you're putting in for the business?
Is really when it goes back to those 3 points of you versus you is who do you want to be? It's not about what you do. It's who you are at the end of the day and who you are on the inside. And that is that limitless life I think about and who I was created to be. So I think 10 years in the future all the time. I actually think 30 years in the future. And I scale back and say, okay, in 2030, 2031, who do I want to be, where do I want to be, and what do I want to be doing, and how do I get there today? How do I get there in a week and in a month and in the next quarter? What needs to be accomplished to get there? And constantly iterating on myself and spending time with myself and with the right people that can get me there. But I'm also adding value to them as well because we all need to rise together. What's the point of being in first class if my homies can't eat? J. Cole. So that is what I think about, and that is my process, and constantly writing, constantly thinking, constantly spending that individual time with myself is very quintessential. We have a lot of distractions in the world, and so you need to be able to tune out the noise and be good with yourself and people that are going to keep you accountable to that. We ultimately need to be accountable for yourself. That's why it's called self-discipline, self-accountability. We're not perfect, but you need to be supremely focused on that. And when you're focused, you have fun, because then you can get first place. Because whoever focused the longest is going to win.
Spoken like a true athlete. Look at that.
We're all athletes. We're all athletes.
Yes.
With that, but I'll take it from them. So, yeah.
Yes. Lolo, it's great. And a big part, we get some comments here. You have Deborah Taylor says, "Son, I love and very proud of you." We have Alma was agreeing with one of the statements that you had mentioned as well. So putting those comments in there. But something you mentioned in terms of self-accountability, in my book, what I call it is essentially self-management, right? And it's, I think about, how people have always been asking me, how do you do it? What's your secret? And I was like, how is it that everyone, like every people, different stages of life, right? They're all asking this question, and the difference is this self-management, right? It's how well do you manage yourself, and can you manage yourself, right? It's when the going gets tough, are you able to get yourself through that going, and how do you actually get to that other side to really make it and achieve your goals? So love it. So now it's time for you to talk about your special project, right? And the next going getting tough that you're working on to run 50 marathons in 50 states. So tell us about that. How that got going. Oh, he's flexing. Oh, okay. Tell us about that, how that got going. And yes.
Yeah. So I have had a long 21 plus year journey with people with special needs and IDD, which is intellectual and developmental disabilities. Fun fact, 20% of the world has some form of intellectual and developmental disability. Do the math on that. 20% of 8 billion. And so really my best friend, one of my best buddies, Evan Vaughn, he has special needs. He has a disability. We've been friends for 21 years, and he was a part of this program called the HEART program, which is a nonprofit that focuses on people with special needs, IDD, helping adults, so 18 and over, get job training and life skills so they could be independent in the real world. And so I joined this nonprofit, their Young Professionals Board, right before COVID. We have the Houston Chevron Marathon that we raise money and do. That's one of our big fundraisers. I raised over $1,000 in a week last year. Was really focused on that because my first boss as well at Wells Fargo was like, Andy Segerson was like, "Hey, life is it's a marathon. It's not a sprint." So I was like, "Dang, I need to run a marathon," but I just hadn't done one yet. So this was like motivation for and drive for Evan, the special needs community, and just a few friends that had passed away. Like 5 years in a row, I had friends pass away, so I was running for them as well. And COVID happened. I didn't want to run my first marathon virtual, but I was like, at the end of last year, I was like, "Dang, I want to run 50, man. I want to, because I'm crazy. I want to do 50," but there was no real goal attached to it besides just like myself. And so this year I was like, let's raise $1 million. Then I was like, I had to talk with the founder, Jane, of the HEART program. I created this website right before that, like in March, runfromtheheart.com. We just settled on $5 million because it would help us finish their state-of-the-art building that they in their campus, pay for that financing, and also help the state-of-the-art technology, the renovations they want to do. So, been training a lot. Ran 11 pretty easily last week, and just been honing in on that. Ran my first half July 18th in New Braunfels, and we're going to probably run a minimum 2 marathons this year, and maybe 3 or 4. So yeah, we're going to run it over the next 5-6 years, really focusing on the $5 million for them. There's a bigger play really for the entire IDD special needs community, which is when they turn 18, there's no real programs in real life like the program we were in, Major League for Tomorrow, right? How it's helping us get into these corporations and get jobs in our career, right? There's nothing for the IDD community with their career, right? They've done great in the arts community with IDD, and then they've done great for Special Olympics, Paralympics, but what about their careers, right? What about a kid that knows everything about the NBA? Or just, hey, there's someone in our program that graduated from A&M with an accounting degree. He just has no social skills. There's just some disability there. He needs some work, right? And so maybe you can't talk, or you're deaf, whatever. There's a place for everyone in the ID community to be interdependent and actually add value to society. So after we raise this $5 million in the next 5 years, we're going to raise $50 million. And that's going to be comprised of giving $1 million of a nonprofit with IDD special needs focus in every state in the country. That's phase 2. Phase 3, we're going to raise $1 billion. And that's going to be comprised of the real vision, which is funding and helping and training different levels of IDD to really be in the workplace. And so it became more apparent to me that this group of people, it's time for them to shine when I saw, I believe, well, who was it? And I don't know if it was Gucci. One major brand, there was a Down syndrome young teenage lady that, was the first model with Down syndrome for a major brand. And then you have a young man, I forgot his name, but he's like a blue chip basketball player. He plays with one arm, and he's basically has a shot to be an All American, McDonald's All American in high school. And so I was like, these people are super. They're special because they are super. They're special. And so I've been around, the ID community my whole life. And so I'm passionate about the 50 marathons to get it started. But this is a social enterprise. The Heart brand is going to be a national, international brand for them, So launch party, if you're in Houston, come out, but definitely donate in the link below. We got $5 million to raise, so let's get it.
Awesome. Love it. Love it. Yes. So the link runfromtheheart.com is also in the comments, which you're watching this in. And I just did that and also the link below the screen. So donate, share as well too, feel free, share the message and spread the word, and let's keep moving. And thank you, Joshua, for the work that you're doing. And so for those tuning in, thank you, Joshua. Applaud. Yes, it's a wonderful mission. I'm so excited for the launch is happening on June the 10th. Such a fitting day too. So many things in here. And, we've been talking a lot about entrepreneurship here today, right? But chances are, if you're watching this, you are in entrepreneurship because you do have a purpose. You do have an impact that you're looking to make. You do have a change that you're looking to make, right? You're a change maker, and it's beyond you. It's not just you, right? It's you, your family, your community, and the world that you're looking to impact, right? And so Josh was doing this, right, as well too. It's an extension of his entrepreneurship and VC journey. And, so what are you in this for, right? And generational wealth and financial freedom, it takes focus and discipline. And it's a long-term race. It's not a quick, sprint, right? And so really, thank you all for tuning in, reacting and sharing. Lets us know that you like this topic, and keep on sharing and reacting, and ensure that you are checking out Joshua Facebook page and checking out the link as well and sharing it with your friends. And was that my alarm? That's probably your alarm. Oh,
somebody is calling me.
Yes, and if you would like to deep dive into your business strategy, marketing strategy, I offer a variety of services. And first, we begin with really understanding. Feel free to schedule a business session as well to get you going and understand what is it that will make sense for you and what you're struggling with in your business. So power.vzammy.com. And remember to tune in next week for another episode of Entrepreneurship is a Marathon every Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern, on the page that you're watching this right now on Facebook, and one day also on LinkedIn. And for those who are looking to move forward and keep moving forward in your business, feel free to schedule time, power.vzammy.com. And remember to check out Joshua Taylor, donate at runfromtheheart.com. Love the link. Runfromtheheart.com. Yes. To subscribe and to donate as well, to stay and follow him on his journey to run 50 marathons in 50 states and to raise $5 million for the IDD community. Yes. And for those who are wondering, what does IDD stand for?
Intellectual and developmental disabilities.
Yes. Yes.
Special Olympics, Paralympics, all that.
Love it. Love it. Yes, Cheryl said she's so proud. Oh, love is great. Support system, folks. It's a support system. And so with that being said, have a beautiful, wonderful evening, and chat with you again next Tuesday. And thank you, Joshua, for joining us here tonight and sharing your message. And thank you for all that you represent and do. Chat to you, everyone. Bye.
Peace.